Several important news stories are happening that affect Tesla. First, a big debate is brewing among Tesla bulls, with one side saying Tesla will sell Cybercabs as drivable cars to the public, serving as a low-cost vehicle, and others saying the Cybercabs were designed for autonomous only. This reared its head again after Bloomberg quoted Tesla chairwoman Robin Denholm as saying if regulators require steering wheels, then we can have steering wheels and pedals. Second, Tesla's Fremont factory celebrated their 15th year anniversary. The factory has produced 3.6 million electric vehicles since 2010 and generated 20,000 jobs in California. Third, General Motors has laid off more than 1,700 workers at their manufacturing sites in Michigan and Ohio. They blame slowing near-term EV adoption and the regulatory environment. To help us figure all this out and have a good discussion is Brian White. He's one of our best Tesla retail analysts. He's highly recommend you check out his channel in YouTube, FutureAza. He's one of the few. He regularly travels the world, gets exclusive factory tours and exclusive interviews. Thank you, Brian.
This is a big topic. There's a lot here, especially the GM stuff. There's moving pieces, so I'm not happy, but let's get into it.
You're not happy. Okay. Well, you and I just did a live stream with Nick Gibbs, and we did this debate on the Cybercab. We know that Farzad Masbahi on his YouTube channel, he's been promoting this idea that perhaps they would use the Cybercab and add steering wheels and pedals to it, maybe make modifications to it, and sell that as a more low-cost vehicle. Others, like Omar from Hallmark's catalog, doesn't believe that that's the plan. So having you to explain to us what your thinking is, because you did interview a number of Cybercab engineers. Now, we did the debate. So that is the other side. But today we don't have the other sides. We just want to hear your thinking. So let's share a little bit of what happened. So there's this news that came out from Bloomberg, who interviewed Tesla chairwoman Robin Denholm. And she said, if we have to have a steering wheel, it can have a steering wheel and pedals. So this is their back. Now this is how Bloomberg positioned this. They called it the Tesla Cybercab backup plan, selling it with a steering wheel. I'm not quite sure that that's what she said. That's the point. She didn't say that, that that's what they would do. But okay, let's take a look. If we have to have a steering wheel, it can have a steering wheel and pedals. That's what she said. And let's the other comment she made this, where I think, sorry, I'm jumping around here. Where is it? Was it right? Sorry, right here, right? The original Model Y was not going to have a steering wheel or pedals. If we can't sell something because it needs something, then we'll work with regulators to work out what we need to do. So what do you think that she was referring to, Brian?
If is the critical part there. If that's what's needed, then they'll do it. They're not saying autonomy is dead. They're not saying humans are going to get it. Nick tried to couch it by saying, no. Farzad's not saying it's going to be necessarily a Cybercab. It could be a 4-door, 4-seat, completely different car. But Farzad's video has the thumbnail "It's happening" with the title "Tesla confirms Cybercab with steering wheel and pedal." They did not. That is not true. That is a lie. But it's got a gajillion views, so that's cool. The thing is, they could do anything. There's could, there's can, there's may, there's might, there's will, there's are. And Farzad is saying are. They are doing it. And what she's saying is they can be doing it. Language matters. You got to have someone who's not just understanding engineering, but understanding words. That's where I come in. You could do anything. You could do a robo-van. You could do a cyber SUV. You could do all kinds of things. But what I hear Robin saying is this is going to happen. We are going to have a driverless car on the road forthwith. If you wish to re-engineer it to be also human drivable in a traditional sense, that's going to take 18 to 24 months to resume the NV91 program and see it to completion. I wish they had done that from the beginning. I wish they hadn't canceled it, because that would mean that today we'd be selling the Cybercab with a wheel, but they didn't. So you could start that back up. If you don't think autonomy is going to be solved in the next 24 months, then this vehicle makes sense. They would absolutely need it to justify the expense of the line and to continue growing the market. But I think we can safely say it's within 18 to 24 months, we are going to see these on the road. These are going to be rolling out. So I believe Elon. I trust Elon. I think Elon knows he can see things you and I cannot inside the company. I am going to vote with Elon on this one rather than people outside the company.
Okay. Well, we don't have the other side to represent themselves. As I said, we already had that debate on a live stream that we just did on Wednesday. But let's just go through a couple points here. One was when she was interviewed and she said we could add steering wheels and pedals to it if regulation requires it. The way I interpreted that was that you are selling a car that does not have steering wheel and pedals. And there's some regulation that because it's, in the past, they might need it, but doesn't mean that you're going to sell this as the mass market vehicle. It just means that, okay, if they need us to put a steering wheel and pedals just so that I can have an autonomous vehicle, still being autonomous, having those things, like, side mirrors, we need to put a rear mirror just in case, those kind of things, then we'll have it. But what they're saying is that, no, this is proof that this is going to be the low model version of the car, the low cost version that's going to be sold in mass. And then others are saying, well, no, even that you're not going to sell a two-seater because a two-seater that you mentioned is such a small market. And then they go, no, but it includes four-seaters. And then you're going, well, that means it's a different vehicle. And they're saying, no, it's the same thing. But anyways, okay. So comment on what you think she actually said.
When I lived in Shanghai, I was on the, I think, 4th floor. Next to me was a 3-story building. On the roof of that 3-story building was a blinking red light. Why? Because there was a regulation that said buildings over a certain height needed to have protections in place to safeguard against being struck by an aircraft. This 3-story building was surrounded by 20-story buildings. There is no reason for that light to exist, but it must. The regulation hadn't changed. If they say a car must have mirrors, they'll put mirrors on it. That's easy. The way Tesla semis are made today, they have to have mirrors, even though they're designed for digital mirrors. And this is true of a lot of manufacturers. When I was out at Stone Ridge, seeing their digital mirror systems, they explain that their solution is already on tens of thousands of vehicles being sold now. Trucks, big rigs. And so what some of the manufacturers do, and I think it's Kenworth, is the mirrors that it's sold with are designed to be removed as soon as they're delivered. That's perfectly legal. It is legal to drive a Class 8 truck without mirrors. It is not legal to sell one without them. What Tesla did is a little bit more clever. They've got the wing that has the cameras and whatnot on it and the mirror on top of it. You just remove the top part and the wing stays there. So it's even simpler. If that's a goofy regulation that happens, great. We'll put mirrors on it and then just remove them as soon as we're allowed to. But that doesn't mean that you're going to have a Miata. I'd love to have a Miata. That would be electric Tesla Miata. Oh, I'd love it. But that's not, unfortunately.
How many did they sell?
Miata. So Miata is the best selling, one of the best selling two-seat vehicles of all time. Last year, they sold about 8,000. I don't know that that's the market Tesla wants to get into. People say these will sell like hotcakes. I remind them as a former international House of Pancakes employee that I know hotcakes don't sell. We had to give them away. Even then, people sometimes wouldn't eat them.
I don't know if you're joking or not.
I am joking, but hotcakes, it's a weird figure of speech. I know this would become the best-selling two-seat vehicle in the country, but I don't know if it would even then justify the cost of the engineering involved. And it's such a different vehicle. When people say, well, why wouldn't it have a 200 horsepower motor? The Chevy Bolt had a 200 horsepower motor because that's what was right for the job. They wanted a peppy, fun, fast car. You don't need that for a Cybercab. You don't want that. I don't want my Cybercab throwing me around in the corners or chucking me in the back of my seat at a stoplight. That's terrifying. You build it for the purpose. You end up with something that is affordable. Once you start adding in all those things that make it a reasonable daily driver, let alone a fun daily driver, it's not 25,000 anymore. It's 35,000. You've lost the advantage.
Yeah, okay. And I think Nick clarified what he thinks as far as his position was, and or the other position which I didn't know, which is that they're not saying that you take the Cybercab that we're watching and then just put steering wheel and pedal and then sell that in mass. What he's saying is we've got this unboxed model that's going to create these Cybercabs, but we can create a second vehicle that's a 4-seater that has all the things you need to make it so that a little bit, whatever they need to add to make it a little bit sellable, and then that will sell that. And I didn't disagree with that. Sure, they could do that. It's just that I thought I consider that a different vehicle where these guys are arguing it's a Cybercab.
It's
okay.
I'm with you on this one. That is a completely different vehicle, and that's definitely not what his title and thumbnail on his video says. So.
And it's possible, absolutely possible, that they create a version that does that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now the big argument though, or the big point that makes sense is this: Tesla has articulated and said that we are now going to increase our production of cars. Now that we know that autonomy works, Elon said, we're going to go in full force and go and scale. So then you carry this forward and you go, okay, well, how many autonomous vehicles could Tesla actually sell? Let's say that next year they have 500,000. The year later, they have 1 million per year, something like that. Can you actually sell 1 million per year? Like, do you have the regulations? Do you have places that can need it? Somebody said, Uber and ride-hail only really needs 400,000. For the US, you don't need more than that. Where would you use this? And then that's why they're saying that's why it makes sense to create a version of the Cybercab that will be drivable, because then you can take that and sell that to consumers. And as you watch robotaxis, kind of scale up.
Yeah.
What do you think about that argument?
I wish that was the original plan. I wish they'd have done that. That's not the way the engineering went, unfortunately. Hopefully, maybe someday they will consider that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have Elon's vision on autonomy. I don't have Elon's vision on a lot of things, but I'm confident that he knows better than I do on those issues. So I will defer to his.
Good, thank you for that. So again, we in a video that you and I done a couple weeks ago, and many videos you've got on your channel, FutureAza, you interviewed as Cybercab engineers, and you list out 30 plus reasons and why you think that Cybercab was designed specifically for autonomy. And you can't just take the existing Cybercab. It's very unlikely that they would take the existing Cybercab, put a steering wheel and pedal, and then sell that. There would be a lot of changes required to it. And so people should watch those videos to go through that list.
The one that I would have brought up if we'd have had less arguing and more conversation on the live stream was, he said, well, just make it 4-seaters. The wall behind the passengers is structural. Right. So you can't just like blow that wall out, raise the top a little and have two. I mean, it's a different car. There's almost no system. Even the tires, like you mentioned, the wheels, the suspension, it's a completely different car. So I'd love to see it happen. I hope it does. It is not on the roadmap as of today.
Okay. All right, so let's move on. There's something that we are reporting to quite regularly each week is the sales of Tesla's vehicles in China. And just wanted to let people know that apparently, due to industry association regulations and certain policy considerations, these weekly sales figures from China will no longer, and other brands, will no longer be released on a weekly basis. So I think we're now going to get monthly reports instead of weekly reports. Just FYI.
How dare they? How dare they? We are in the weeds. This is unfair. I demand a recount.
It's okay. It's okay not to know.
I'll make it.
It's ridiculous. Okay. So Fremont factory, something you know really, really well about. 15 years ago, we opened Fremont as Tesla. Today, the Fremont team is producing all 4 sexy models, S, X, Model 3, Model Y. They've built 3.6 million vehicles so far, 20,000 California jobs created with billions of dollars invested. Sawyer added, Fremont's the most productive car factory in North America right now. I didn't realize that, even more than Giga Texas. And it celebrates 15 years of vehicle production. So I don't know if there's other information from this article, but thoughts on this celebration?
When they moved into that facility, it was comical. You're going to take a space this big and make a Model S. And it was ridiculous. You will hear stories from people like Joe Justice, who said, yeah, that we would have a fake wall up, like a security fence, and on the other side of it was just endless space for nothing. And of course, they've outgrown it.
Hmm.
The Numi factory, when it was run by GM and Toyota, was already the most productive factory in the country, and now it's substantially more productive, even though more of the parts are made in-house. It's a tremendous achievement. I'm a little concerned. We just found out that Texas has only made 500,000 cars ever, which
Hmm.
to me is a sign that we need to uh, increase utilization. But it also means that while Tesla is still making a substantial profit, there's a lot of room to increase that profit by just utilizing the equipment that's already installed for more shifts, the space available without expanding into new space. There's a lot of opportunity there. But hats off to the folks at Fremont. It was not an easy job. Managing to hermit crab your way into a space that wasn't exactly designed for your build philosophy is never easy, and they've done an amazing job.
They took that factory and then that's how they got started. It's always that way, isn't it? They always take something that's not perfect, but get started and then they learn and then they perfect it with other factories. So this, as you said, Tesla acquired this Fremont factory from this Numi joint venture between GM and Toyota in May of 2010, 15 years ago, for $42 million. What a steal. The facility had produced more than 8 million vehicles under GM and Toyota over 26 years. That tells you something right there. Following its acquisition, Tesla retooled the 5.3 million square foot plant to support the production of the Model S sedan.
Go back a slide. On that
Mhm.
42 million, it was an even better deal than you can imagine, because Tesla didn't have $42 million. Tesla gave them $42 million in shares, and Toyota, I think it was Toyota got to keep, they broke off a chunk of the property and sold it separately. So they got some cash out of the deal. That 42 million cost Tesla $0 because it was just paper. And that turned into a cajillion dollars for Toyota before they sold the shares. They probably 4 or 5x the money before they sold
That's
it.
great. Yeah.
Everybody won.
There you go. Makes sense, buddy. Thank you for sharing that info. All right, so let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
Next story is GM. So General Motors, while we're talking about Tesla growing and we're debating which vehicle they're going to mass produce next and autonomy and all that, you got GM laying off more than 1,700 workers at its manufacturing sites in Michigan and Ohio. They cite EV challenges. So they laid off 1,700 as what I just said. The company confirmed there were around 1,200 layoffs at Detroit's electric vehicle plant and 550 cuts at Ohio's Ultium Cells battery cell plant. Didn't realize that that was still a thing. In addition to 850 temporary layoffs, the company said it will also temporarily lay off 700. So this is the words that they use. In response to slower near-term EV adoption and an evolving regulatory environment, GM is realigning EV capacity. And it's something that we've been hearing Jeff Lutz mention so many, many times, that the top 3 EV sales in the US are all manufactured in Mexico. Can you explain that? And then, of course, there's now the New Mexico tariffs.
Yes. By the way, this doesn't mention GM's Bright Drop division has ceased production of their electric cargo van in Canada, because it no longer made sense. The battery incentives were gone. The tariff to cross the border made it prohibitive. It was just done. So if you look at the biggest selling EVs that are not Tesla, you've got the Ford Mach-E, which is made in Mexico. You've got the GM, the Chevy Blazer and Equinox, both made, I think they're both made in Mexico. And the Honda Prologue is also made at that same factory, the GM factory in Mexico, because it made sense. At the time the laws were written, we had a fresh trade deal from then President Trump that assured that goods would be able to cross the border, that vehicles would be able to cross the border tariff free. And then that changed. And that put a real damper on that. That has forced these companies that invested billions of dollars based on their confidence that the trade deal was a done deal, that it's just no longer, the profit isn't there. If you're going to have to pay an extra 10, 20, 30, who knows what the percentage is going to be on any given day, it really crushes it. What this has also done is create a situation in Canada where Canada's auto industry is on the brink of collapse. Canada's auto industry is primarily the big three manufacturing vehicles that will be sold in Canada, but also in the US, also in Mexico. With that border tariff, it means those vehicles can't cross into the US. It means all the money they spent on electrification is for vehicles that will no longer qualify for an IRA, because there is no IRA. And it is putting their entire auto industry not just in distress, but in serious survival crisis. As a result, the Prime Minister is in Asia. Carney is trying to negotiate with President Xi of China, and there's a very real possibility that the 100% tariffs that Canada had put on Chinese-made EVs will be reduced substantially, because that 100% tariff was done in solidarity with the US, and it appears that Canada's trade policies have no solidarity with the US. The US has made things challenging, made the environment challenging. So the GM layoffs are unsurprising. EVs are getting harder to profitably build, with a lot of battery factories being canceled, in part because of falling demand, in part because of falling subsidies, raising the cost, making them no longer cost competitive. Jobs in the auto industry are being just obliterated.
One of the things you've done really well on your channel, FutureAza on YouTube, you've done this series of, is this automaker doomed? And you had one, I'm sure is GM doomed. So I just want to ask you, I know it's a pithy statement, and there's lots of ways to answer that, but is GM doomed?
No, GM is doing remarkably well. Despite the huge write down on EVs, all they've done is shift back to building gas guzzling dyno burners. They're very profitable when they do that. They know how to do that. They're good at it. And with the relaxed mileage and efficiency standards, it's made their job very easy. So why would GM want to do the hard thing that will pay off in 10 or 20 years in building EVs profitably, make 1%, 2%, 3%, maybe negative 3%, when they could just stop building those, write off the whole thing entirely, call it a day, and go back to making, Corvettes and Suburbans, where they have a 5, 10, 20% margin. So GM is not doomed. These policy shifts directly favor the big three, who are almost entirely gas car makers.
The problem is you can't, doesn't make sense to take a gas car and add autonomy features to it. And if that's the case, it's like one thing to say, hey, I've got EVs versus gas. It's another thing to say I've got a self-driving car and not gas. And now you need to think about, how do you get to a self-driving car? And you can't it's not a simple thing of just putting sensors and cameras on a gas car and call it a day.
Well, you can, but like you said, it makes less sense. Anything's possible. I mean, you could put them on anything, but I agree with you. For a lot of the purposes that this would have, an autonomous car will need to sit and hang out sometimes. Does it remain idling so that the computers have enough power? Does it have huge extra batteries so it can run those computers while it's idling? Does it set grass on fire with its exhaust heat? Those are all questions that a pure EV in autonomous fashion will never have to answer.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. Always great to talk to you about other car makers. I don't know anyone else who knows these other car makers as well as you do, and factories. You've been known to over-obsess on the factories side.
A little bit.
Come on, man, get another hobby. But yeah, thank you very much for your expertise. Appreciate it. Follow Brian on his YouTube channel. Check him out right now. Go there, FutureAza. Like and subscribe to him. He's worth it. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.